Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Corr. I'm delighted for the second night in a row to be joined by the dynamic duo, Keith Jackson and Nick Gannon. Keith, how's it going?
Hi, all right. I wonder how many people will actually be bothering to watch this show tonight when there's a spectacular eclipse going on outside, solar eclipse. So that'll be interesting. We've got nothing better to do than hang fire. We do have some interesting information. A lot going on again, transfer-wise today. Eric McInnes did a presser. Made his feelings pretty clear. I don't think he missed anybody and hit the wall. And Celtic are getting close to doing business that I expected Celtic to do about 3 weeks ago. But still, better late than never.
Mick, how's it going? Keith says we've got packed with transfer news. I don't even know where to start, actually.
I'll get a window seat here, so I'm going to keep an eye out for this eclipse. But apparently, if you look at it too long, you can burn your eyeballs out. So if you see me kind of writhing in pain, my eyeballs popping, you'll know what it is. Either that, it's a transfer window just got to me. It's one of the two.
We'll keep an eye on you, Mick. Don't worry. We'll make sure you're okay. I think where should we start? As I say, we've got plenty of transfer stuff to talk about. I think right now, Keith, as we speak at 6 o'clock, Rangers have announced that Diomande has gone to Turkey. We were just saying before we come on, he had some really good games for Rangers, but they're few and far between.
Yeah, moving to an estate agent in Turkey, isn't he? Cool. Look, do you know what? I'm surprised by the timing of this, in between two legs of a European tie, and at a moment when Derek McInnes is screaming out for reinforcements and his team's threadbare, his starting 11 is imbalanced. Diomande, whatever you think of him, I think he's left-footed. That's a bit of a rarity in this Rangers squad at the minute, especially defensively. I'm not saying that he would have been looking at playing a defensive role, as Mick said just before we came on. It's difficult to tell what Diomande is these days, what it is that he actually offers. So I'm not surprised that Rangers were happy to get some money in from him. I am surprised that they've chosen to do it in between the two legs of this tie, given all the other stuff that's going on around Rangers and the recruitment right now. It's an odd one, and it's not as if it's, a ton of money that they're looking at. I think it's about £3.5 million. But there you go. The kind of overhaul continues. They clearly have to get bodies out the way, but I think we'll hear from Derek McInnes. We're at his press conference earlier on today, and he makes it pretty clear that it's in the way that he's needing bodies more than out the way right now. So, a lot going on. Diomande has got ability. I'm just not, I'm just, it's difficult to see what his actual real strengths are. He can carry the ball. He's quite nice technically. He's built at the side of a fiver, so the physical side of it was always going to be difficult for him. He can run. He'll run all day. He's nice, but Rangers don't need nice. In fact, Rangers have been too nice probably for too long. If they're going to try and turn this around, they need a very different profile of player in the middle of the pitch.
We've got tons of comments coming in, a lot of them about Celtic. We will talk about Celtic, plenty of transfer news there. And I caught up with Record Sports' Craig Swan. He's in Macedonia for Hibs. Huge game tomorrow night against Shkendija. But why don't we listen to Derek McInnes now and hear what the Rangers manager had to say earlier on today?
Sure.
Derek, could you start with your reaction to Yusuf Chimiki's injury news yesterday?
Yeah, obviously really disappointed. For myself, selfishly, it's a big part of what we wanted to do this season, and he's obviously a talented boy. But for Yusuf himself, obviously he's very young. It'll be difficult for him to accept and understand what's happened to him. But such is the way life can. One minute you're flying high and get the full season ahead for you, and a lot of lofty ambitions for yourself, and then obviously he's had to deal with this injury now. So he's actually on his way to London this afternoon to see a specialist, and then maybe next week get through his operation, and then from that point on it's just about working back. But real tough one for the boy, and tough one for us, particularly The only saving grace from our point of view as a club, the fact that it's happened in a transfer window, and we've got the opportunity to react to that. Because ordinarily you wouldn't get a chance once the window closes.
It's also an extra layer of complexity from a club level where he was subject of interest from elsewhere. I know you spoke at the weekend. Did you expect him to stay beyond the window? And I take it, as you mentioned there, the search for a new striker then gets accelerated.
Yeah, so I think the plan was for Yusuf to stay in, but obviously it was a big number. It was reportedly bid for him. I don't know exactly what the figure was, but obviously the club rejected that. And it's neither here nor there now, to be honest. It's done, and and I think the plan was for Yusuf to be a big part for us. But every player's got a price, as you know, so whether that would have been revisited, but it doesn't really matter now. We're talking about something that's hypothetical. I just think we are obviously looking at maybe strengthening that area of the pitch. Strengthening us defensively, strengthening us in wide areas was a priority. But obviously, losing a player of Yusuf's ability, we need to look at that one as well.
Where are you in that search, given that it has been sprung upon you more than the other areas?
So again, we're kind of trying to be quite proactive with that and seeing what is available. Obviously, number 9s are normally the most difficult ones to get, and we just look at various options at the minute, and then we try and land on trying to get the right one that we would complement what we've got at the top of the pitch. Obviously, we're looking for a bit of pace at the top of the pitch, and ideally someone with a similar profile to Yusuf. But it's all right saying what you want, but we'll work hard to try and get as close to what we want as possible.
Do you for PSV, James Penrice for IK? I think there's suggestions of Jaden Migloma coming back. Where are you with these kind of deals?
So obviously with Tour's injury, we've been looking at various options, so that's kind of ongoing. So without kind of getting into the ins and outs of that, and we're trying to bring winners in. It's in the hands of the recruitment team to try and get that over the line, and these things nothing's been finalised with anything yet. So obviously waiting for that to play out, but hoping we can get some good news, hopefully the close of the day or tomorrow.
Obviously, you've waited for this opportunity for so long. It's come, and it just seems like everything that could go wrong right now is going wrong. I mean, how do you keep your own spirits up, never mind the rest of the squads?
Yeah, well, it's my job to keep my spirits up. It's the players' jobs to keep themselves going. We're about to play a European game in front of 50,000 tomorrow, and that you can't get up for that type of event. And we understand that it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. I got the job for a reason. There's a lot of changes needing, and there's a lot of kind of turnaround of the squad. Of course, it's not been as straightforward as I hoped, and you want to enjoy the job a lot better than what it is at the minute, but you can only enjoy it at Rangers when you win. I said that in my press, and for me, we've got stuff to do, we've got work to do, and for me it's part of being a manager. Obviously get a lot of experience, but there is ups and downs, but it's about coping with the difficult times. It kind of defines you, and I think it's up to us now to just knuckle down, stay calm, work, as I say, really swiftly on recruitment. Hopefully we can be really effective with what we actually need and what we need that is there to help us. The owners, Andrew's already come out and said they're looking to get a significant number of players in, which is the conversations we've been having, but hopefully we can get those in, because I think it's fair to say we want to try and keep the optimism and the support. We want to try and keep, it's the start of the campaign, there's still so much to play for, but we want to make sure we're in the race for everything, and we want to be strong as we possibly can, and every manager's the same, but the club ourselves, we've got to try and be ready to meet the demand, and the squad at the minute could do with some help.
In the comments, guys, Rangers is okay, says tickets still available, no wonder, we're chronic, and I feel for McInnes, but 2 bad results this week and he's going to be in deep trouble. And Mark says, how much trouble is McInnes in if they go out of Europe? They really need to win tomorrow night, don't they? They really need to beat this team.
Listen, it'd be a major setback for Derek McInnes, and he's trying to win over the hearts and minds a little bit just now. There was a sort of, I think the vast majority of Rangers fans understand that he's the right guy at the right time for Rangers. But they were already on the fumes in terms of patience, running on fumes when he came in. There will be some amongst the Rangers support who didn't fancy him in the first instance, never have fancied him for whatever reason, maybe want to go down the European route again. So it all adds up into a difficult picture for Derek McInnes right now. I think he desperately just needs to get a win under his belt, and then he can start to build things from there. That's stating the obvious, isn't it? But yeah, there are so many shifting pieces just now in terms of this transfer window, the recruitment drive, which is turning into an absolute overhaul. It's difficult times, and I think a couple of things he said in the press conference today that Rangers are playing with fire in terms of the lack of defensive options. He said, look, it was always pretty obvious if we got a couple of injuries, then we could be in a situation where we're down to the bare bones, and that's exactly where he finds himself already in this second leg of this tie, because he's not got a left-sided full-back, and he's only got 4 fit defenders. So he's going to have to cobble something together, and he's going to have to send out a team that he feels is the most trustworthy starting 11 that he's got at his disposal. And he needs to then hang his hat on them to go out there and perform. The players need to take responsibility as well, and this has always been the problem. It's been a problem for such a long time at Rangers. You've got a bunch of players in there that can't be trusted, that don't take responsibility, that have cost a number of managers the opportunity to stay in the job for any significant length of time. Derek McInnes is obviously addressing that because the size, the scale, the turnover is enormous. I think that they're waiting for confirmation on the winger Drioch from PSV. That'll be signing number 10. And as Derek McInnes has just said there could be another 4 or 5 to come in, especially now that they're needing a number 9 as well. So once all that is done, it doesn't probably need to rely on the players that have proven over a period of time that they can't be relied upon. A group of guys that came third in a 2-horse race last season. And that's just the start of the work, because then he's got to try and get this team bonded, get it together. You could be looking essentially at an entirely new starting 11 by the end of this month. And then he's going to have his work cut out. So the initial phase is get the change around, get the turnaround, get bodies in, get bodies out. And then when you get to the end of August, start of September, it's right, we've got an entirely new team here. How do we gel this? It's a lot of work. I don't know is the answer, Daniel, how much more patience the Rangers fans will have. I hope they've got some, because they've got to understand the size of the task he's taking on. He also said in the press conference today that he was hoping for some good news, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. He couldn't be any more clear there. He's saying this needs to be done with a degree of real urgency. And here we are at just gone 6 on Wednesday night, and I don't believe there has been any more incomings since Derek McInnes' press conference at lunchtime today. So whatever deals they're working on, they ain't getting done at the speed that Derek McInnes would like them to get done at, that's for sure.
I mean, Mick, in the comments, David says, we as supporters need to be patient. Derek will get this right. But David is one of a few people who says, Daniel, if he gets put out of Europe, he's a dead man walking. Do you think they'll get through tomorrow, Mick?
I think they'll have enough to kind of escape through. I don't think it's going to be a straightforward night. I don't think it's going to be an easy, comfortable 2, 3 and 4-0 win. I think it's going to be a stressful 90 minutes plus. And it might be plus required tomorrow night. I just look at the Rangers' defence. I think it looks a bit vulnerable. So can they keep a clean sheet? Which I think they have to do. I also be interested to see how Jagiellonia play it. I mean, if they've been doing a bit of scouting on the last couple of games domestically, if they try and set up like a Scottish Premiership team and try and do the low block and frustrate, that's going to make it a long night for Rangers, because that's when they get into that huff and puff situation that they've been in for far too long. And that could be difficult for them. And also it means they can be susceptible in the break. So it's a treacherous night for Rangers. I think they've got enough just about enough to get through it. But as I say, I just can't see anything but a lot of stress on the way. That's what I'm seeing with Derek McInnes. I mean, the last word of his press conference clip there was help, and he might as well be holding a sign up saying help there. I mean, it looks like a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. He knows he's got a squad that's lacking. He's got injuries that are piling up. I genuinely think, I mean, it sounds a bit dramatic. I mean, how long have we got left in the window? 21 days, is it, from today? September the 3rd?
About that, September 3rd.
So, well, 3 weeks then. So he's got 3 weeks that now are going to shape Rangers' season. But unfortunately, there's also games coming thick and fast in that period, which could define it as well. And this is the life. I mean, somebody said the word patience there. When have you ever seen patience getting used and applied to football in general, but in particular in Glasgow, the Rangers and Celtic? And when you say patience, I mean, Rangers have spent an awful lot of money in the last 18 months. And you think, surely they should get more bang for their buck for what they're spending. So it's all right saying there's patience, but it's a word that doesn't exist in Glasgow football. So there will be no patience. I think you'll get a little bit more leeway than some managers will get, because people know that he's in there doing his best and he's hamstrung by a lot of situations. But, for example, we saw it with Celtic with Wilfred Nancy, losing his first 4 games, and he's practically out the door. I mean, people were trying to sack him after a week. I mean, he lost his first 3 games, and there was genuinely people on here and elsewhere saying he should be gone after a week. So he'll get more leeway because of who he is. If he'd been a foreign manager, there'd be people calling for him to go now, which is ridiculous. So we'll get a bit more wriggle room, but not much, because, as I say, there is no patience in Glasgow.
I think the thing that will do him a favour, Mick, one, obviously, he knows the club. He was part of it. He was a guy that Walter Smith always saw as a Rangers manager of the future. But two, the body of work that he's got behind him, his CV in terms of what he's achieved in Scottish football. Now, I know he's never won the Premier League title, but he's made like Aberdeen and Hearts punch above their weight and take a fight to Celtic. And so I think if it was a new guy, a Wilfred Nancy type, a Russell Martin type, and he was coming in and he was trying to reinvent the wheel in front of your eyes, it didn't make any sense, and he's got nothing to fall back on in terms of, look, guys, I've done this before. So I think all that falls in Derek McInnes' favour. But the top and bottom of it, and he will know better than anybody, none of that is going to count unless he starts winning games as Rangers manager. And I think you'll understand the importance of getting out of the block with a win tomorrow night and keeping Rangers in this in the hunt for the Europa League. If he gets a bad result there, again, there'll be mitigating circumstances because the squad is what it is right now. But these mitigating factors, Mick, as you said, they don't last long. Not in this part of the world, for sure. And also, well, you think Celtic acted quickly, and they did, and the fans made up their mind very quickly about Wilfred Nancy, probably because a lack of trust in the board and the people that were making the decisions. That would have counted against Wilfred Nancy. Yeah. But also the fact, I mean, if anybody should be patient, it's Celtic supporters, because they've won 14 out of the last 15 titles. You flip that on its head when you're talking about Rangers. Rangers fans have run out of patience. They're desperately just looking for the answer. Right. They don't know quite what it is yet, but they're desperately looking for it. They're desperately looking for a sign that somebody can come in and start making them, competent in their own backyard again. I think that guy's Derek McInnes, but these are tricky times for him, no doubt about it.
There's tons of comments coming in Celtic, so let me move on to them. And in the comments, Rebel says, the biscuit tin's screaming in agony, it's leaking like a sieve, and about time. Ronnie McStay says, Michael Nicholson statue incoming. Mick, are Celtic about to announce another 2 big signings?
How fleeting are fans? I mean, how fleeting. I mean, they get chucked a bit of sugar and it's all sweet again. I mean, these are deals that are now well in advance. I mean, actually, I thought Hassan might have been made official today. I think there is some parts of that deal in terms of paperwork that needs to be sorted out or took a bit of time. Plus, we know that Celtic like to have all their kind of social media bells and whistles on before they make it official as well. They like to do their videos, interviews and all these things. So that sometimes takes up a bit of time. And Celtic, nothing to do is glazier pace anyway at Celtic. It's a bit like a Mediterranean kind of manana stance with Celtic. But they are getting into gear. I mean, Mika Bauer now is advanced. Finally, again, a bit like the Hassan deal. Celtic have been waiting and thinking that they can get a deal done for this guy for a while. It now looks like they've had to pony up a wee bit more than they wanted at first, but didn't have to meet. I think it was £8 million that Paderborn was wanting, and Celtic offered 4. They've kind of met somewhere, not in the middle, but towards the kind of the lower end of the. I think it's under £6 million for this midfield player, but the guy they wanted for a while. I think this will trigger perhaps an exit. I would think Rio Hatate is the one. I think people were saying this is the Engels replacement. I don't think so. I think this might be the Rio Hatate replacement rather than the Engels replacement. I think Hatate his time is up at Celtic. We've seen him shuffling about these tracksuit the last couple of games, not getting involved. Kind of a very kind of low key end to a guy who's been a magnificent player for Celtic. I think he'll go. He's got options all over the globe, but it depends on where he goes now. There's options in Germany, France, England, America, and I think Saudi as well. So there's plenty of options for him. Quite what they get from him, I don't think they're going to get the big money they thought they got a few years ago, but they've got a few quid, and he'll be off in his merry way. I think Bauer will be the replacement for him. Different kind of profile player. Interesting to see how he gets on. Sounds decent. Again, listen, we've got to admit here, none of us are watching the Bundesliga 2 on a weekly basis. I'll only watch every once a fortnight, maybe, not every week. But from what you hear and you speak to, they say this kid's a player. He's German youth cap. He's 2-footed apparently, which is rare in this current world. Surprisingly, there's not many 2-footed players these days. He's been playing defensive midfield player for Paderborn in a kind of that deeper role. But I think he started out as a winger and he can play further up as an attacking midfielder. I think he's a passer. So I think you might see him in that kind of maybe left side or Hatate operates. That kind of, I think that maybe we'll see him. But yeah, interesting signing. I think that'll maybe Hatate be the one to kind of move out. Still waiting to find out. The Arnie Engel stuff's not going away either. I mean, I think Celtic might just hold now until after this qualifier. And the good thing with him is his attitude at the weekend showed that he's not going to shirk anything in the meantime. Likewise, Arthur Johnson, that's not going away either. I like to believe that Everton are still keen. I still think that they're not quite going to get to the levels that Celtic want in terms of money, but I think they're hoping that Celtic will cut a deal at some point. I don't think they will, right enough. maybe they haven't met Celtic in the negotiating table in the last few years. But I think that's not going away either. So yeah, it's all happening. And obviously our colleague Scott Burns, exclusive this afternoon, Celtic are still on the hunt for Nico Sigger, the Canadian midfield player, kind of very versatile, Hajduk split. He's a guy they've been watching for months as well. Another one, he sounds more like the Engels replacement, I would imagine. A defensive midfield player, can play across the middle or even at fullback at times if need be. Hard as nails, from what we've seen. You see him, he's part of that Canada team that run through brick walls. I mean, they're like, I think Canada are like a prototype Scottish team should be. Like, I mean, just hard as nails, running through brick walls, fighting and scrapping with a wee bit of quality when they read it. If only we had that for our boys. But yeah, so that's in play as well. So it's interesting. It's going to be a kind of fascinating kind of week or so for Celtic as well. They get European qualifier next week, obviously. So you can get the 2 in before tomorrow night, the deadline, and add another 2. Whether they can get 2 in extra, they'll get 2 in. Whether they can get 2 in beyond that, that's a bit more tricky. That may be dependent on how that tie goes.
It is starting to feel like one of the comments come through earlier, Mick, saying the Celtic fans should congratulate themselves for this. It's the pressure that they've put on the board that means they're finally signing players of the quality that Brendan Rodgers was crying out for 12 months ago. I think there's a point in there. I think it would have been impossible for the board not to realise the scale of the unhappiness inside their own stadium amongst their own supporters. I don't think this is quite peace in our times, but I think it could move quite a long way towards it if Celtic fans feel finally satisfied at the end of a transfer window that the team has moved on and there's been a step up in quality. And I think they might be on the cusp of that this time.
Maybe not peace, but appeasement, certainly. I mean, what is it? Something was saying is that this, not a penny more campaign. Like, well, maybe not. Maybe a fiver. Can we put in maybe a tenner? Can we go get that new away kit that looks like a coffee stain table bat? I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. But like, this is tended to be the way Celtic have operated most windows. They do leave things a wee bit late, but they have tended to go and bring in quality at time. You saw it about 2 years ago when Engels and Trusty arrived late in the window. We've seen it in previous years. I mean, even go back to, I mean, people talk about the first season under Ange Postecoglou as if they had 20 players in the door in June. That never happened. I mean, Kyogo came in the eve of the season, had a stinker at Tynecastle day after. Starfelt was the same. They signed Carter Vickers and Jota on deadline day. So they had to wait for these guys, and it tends to be, but it has worked out for them. Last season was a bit of a weird summer, wasn't it, really? When you think about the kind of the Brendan Rodgers situation brewing in the background, and everything broke down. And that rumbled into the January because you had Paul Tisdale leaving, and the kind of shambolic nature of the January window of having to scramble around and asking agents what they've got and all that, and end up with a lot of dross. So that they're having to kind of do a reset. But this is what they do. This is kind of what's happened now has been more like they've done in the past, which has kind of worked for them. It does drive fans nuts because they want the team prepared. And like we talked about it last night, I still think Celtic should have more ducks in a row going into this tie because I think they've put more jeopardy in it by waiting. I know you're saying, I know they'll say you need to wait for quality, but Celtic's market isn't a market. It's not like your Man City or Barcelona or Real Madrid when you can only sign 15 players across the world that would make a team better. Yeah. Celtic's base is a lot wider. I know they're competing with the Championship in England and the lower league and lower Premier League in England, but there's still a lot more players in that £6, £7, £8, £9 million bracket they can shop from. So a bit earlier would have been a bit more beneficial. Start the ball rolling in January to get done for the summer, that kind of thing. But that's not how they've operated through history. So I'm not going to start now. And as I've said to fans at shareholder meetings and other meetings, this is what we do. It's worked. So we're not going to change no matter how much you shout. So, and if they get these guys in and they get through the tie, they'll say, look, we told you to chill out and it's worked. So
yeah, that is the jeopardy that you're talking about, though, Mike.
Yeah.
I feel if Celtic were doing the work properly, that when they announced Casper Who, I think that was that Monday, I fully expected by the end of that week that both Bauer and Hassan would be completed. And I was thinking to myself, wow, you're really giving yourself the best chance here in terms of being the Celtic board of calming this whole thing down. If you can deliver Casper Who and follow that up sharpish in the space of 4 or 5 days with another couple of big names that the fans are excited about, then I think you've really put yourself in a strong position. They'll get these deals done. It will improve their position. But as you said, Mick, they'll be then accused of falling asleep at the wheel again if the players haven't bedded in and Celtic have a similar sort of a struggle in the Champions League qualifiers. That'll be used as a club to batter them over the head with all over again.
Yeah, that's the reality, and that's the gamble that they're taking. That's what we say, the jeopardy of the tie. They've taken that risk. My question, would Hassan and Bauer cost more or less 4 weeks ago? I don't know. I mean, the price has gone up. I mean, they offered $4 million for Bauer 4 weeks ago, and it's now cost them nearly £6 million. So it's not changed that. It's been up by a fair chunk, and Hassan as well. Who knows? I mean, they're taking the chance with it, but they'll believe that they've got these players that are worth signing. And in fairness, these guys do look. I mean, they don't know. Hassan and Bauer, we need to wait and see. Yeah. The first two in the door so far look the part. And the fans are thinking it's a wee bit like the kind of the wee still game clip, isn't it? They're like, they're shouting ball. Well, actually, that's all right. They're all right. It's a wee bit like that, isn't it? So I think they're hoping. So that's giving them confidence that the next guys are going to be good as well. So if they can be that similar level, then that's a good start. But like you say, the tie next week is going to change. The mood music will be set by the result in this tie.
Well, I've got plenty of comments coming in, so many Celtic comments, and thanks for sharing them. And if you want to get in touch, please do so. Let me throw a few of these at you. Paul says, not another penny campaign is coming to fruition, Keith. Hawkeye says, it looks to me like Dermot stepped in and told Nicholson to get players in for Martin. Berzuno says, surely a guaranteed 8 Champions League games is more appealing than the Championship for Engels. You may never get the chance to play Real Madrid again. I actually thought that as well. I mean, I get West Ham's it seems weird to me. And finally, John says, it's about time that Celtic started to spend decent money on quality players, just as Rodgers wanted. Ross says 8 million on top of 17 we've already spent. The Celtic board are winning the fans back around at this rate. Oh, sorry, and finally as well, Mark says, quite stunned Celtic haven't picked up a left-back or keeper. I haven't really heard any rumblings about getting a keeper or a left-back in. I assume they're still going to get it. They need them, obviously.
No, they are. They are in the market for both. They are in the market for both. I mean, I don't think there's the same stress because, I mean, you look for a backup left-back and a backup goalie, or if they can land somebody who challenge for number one, they would go for it. But in the meantime, it's a backup goalie, a backup left-back, so you can sit and wait and hoover up. Obviously, the transfer window still got 3 weeks left. They'll pick them up. I don't think without too much fuss. The problem again is that if Kieran Tierney plays on Saturday night, pulls a hammy, they're in deep trouble because they've not got a backup left back. I mean, Adam Montgomery might be the left back, or they probably play Tony Ralston there, and try and get through that way. But that's not ideal for one of the biggest games. It's a cup final. This is a 2-legged cup final for Celtic. I mean, a £40 million cup final. So again, I understand that loans won't be done. They don't do loans until the last week of the window, unless it's a kind of teed up long-term loan for a young guy who's got a pathway plan somewhere. But they could do having that on board for this tie. They really could. I mean, Kieran Tierney actually. I think we need to stop talking about Kieran Tierney as if he's made of porcelain. I mean, or made of glass, because Kieran Tierney played 40-odd games last season. I know he didn't finish a lot of them. But he played a heck of a lot more games than people thought he would play, and he started this season really well. I mean, I think he's really impressive.
I was just about to say that Kieran Tierney now looks like the Kieran Tierney the Celtic fans remembered for the first time round. He looks so sharp. I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch at Kilmarnock at the weekend. I thought he was sensational, and everything that he did, whether it was his defensive work, his qualities getting forward, his running, his energy levels, everything about him, he looks sharp as anything. And I think that's a major, because I think he was obviously struggling last season to get back to himself and to his top form. And I know that Alistair Johnson's an issue, and I know that there's interest in the Everton thing's not going away. But when you look at Celtic, when Alistair Johnson came back into the team, thought of what a difference he's made. I think with Alistair Johnson on one side and Kieran Tierney on the other, it's so strong. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, Celtic fans might not get to see that for too long, given the interest in Alistair Johnson and his situation. But yeah, Kieran Tierney has really impressed me early on this season from what I've seen him. I just think he looks as if he's gone up a level again.
See, just before we wrap up on Celtic, Mick, do you think we'll be seeing a sight like this tomorrow? Can Celtic fans expect maybe the next 24, 48 hours to have these guys in the door?
I think at least one. I think with the scarf above the head, I think Hassan. Yeah, I think once they kind of do the whole rigmarole for Bauer as well, maybe the day after. I don't know. Yeah, possibly. I think certainly the next 40 hours. But they have to get them in tomorrow. The deadline. I say they have to, but it gives them a bit of wiggle room to add another 2 if need be. Which means if they have to move quickly over the weekend to get somebody in, they can do it. So yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I think that you'll see these boys given the full treatment tomorrow, and then heading into the weekend.
Well, we'll see. I mentioned at the start of the show, Keith, that I caught up with Record Sports' Craig Swan. He's over in Macedonia for Hibs' crucial tie against Shkendija tomorrow night. Let's have a listen, hear what he was saying. We're joined on Hotline Live now, all the way from sunny Macedonia, by Record Sports' Craig Swan. Swanee, how's things? How is it? How's the weather?
Sunny, sweltering, sticky, sweaty. Yeah, very warm, very pleasant, lovely place, but very, very hot.
You're obviously there ahead of Hibs Europa Conference League third round qualifying match against Shkendija. Hibs obviously won 2-1 in the first leg, amazing win. They'll be flying after on Ibrox the weekend as well. You'd expect, that to come into this game as well.
Yeah, and it was interesting because obviously the team from the first leg, David Gray made quite a few changes for Ibrox on Sunday, and we've just spoken to the Shkendija coach there, who was basically, we asked him about, what do you think? Have you managed to analyse everybody? And he was making the point, well, the Scottish, the league season's a marathon, he said, but European games are elimination. He said, so there's two things at play here. He said maybe David Gray was leaving some players out with an eye on this game, or maybe he trusts us, the boys that played at Ibrox on Sunday, to go and do the job on Thursday. But he says he's prepared for it all. But I think that it was a big thing for Hibs to be able to mix the personnel up and still get the result they did at Ibrox. A massive boost for them anyway, regardless of who was playing. But the fact boys like Owen Elding, only came off the bench late in the game and things like that. There's a bit of freshness about them, and they're going to need that. And they're getting players back. Jamie McGrath's just came back at Ibrox. Josh Campbell, the first leg was sort of first minute he played all season after having some problems through pre-season with injuries. So Hibs are getting players back, creative players, good players, and they're going to need them, because this is not going to be easy tomorrow night. Very, very, very difficult. So
that's Shkendija proved last week that they're going to be tough to get past. But Hibs, and I know I said it a minute ago and I'm stating the obvious, but they'll be flying from that win at Ibrox. If they can get through this tie, it would just give them such a boost. If they can get to the group stage, obviously, it would be amazing. So much focus has been on their hearts, of course, over the last year or so. But it would really be a massive lift for David Gray. And given the fact that it was only a few weeks ago, after the loss in the previous round, that he was under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, football's like that, isn't it? It fluctuates so quickly. The feelings, as you mentioned, Hearts there, you only need to look at the feelings from, sort of the final weeks of last season, and the way it started for Vouter ranking this season until they got the result against Dundee United on Sunday. So yeah, it's fluctuated for Gray, it's flipped, especially after Ibrox on Sunday, as I say, another massive result. Yeah, this is a huge test. I mean, the conditions, it was interesting, as I say, the Shkendija coach, we asked him about the heat and whether Hibs, does he think that could be a big advantage for them? And he was at pains to say, look, when we're analysing opponents who come from a league like the Scottish, he was very complimentary about the Scottish Premier League, saying that it was of a higher standard than the league here in Macedonia, which you would probably have expected. But he was making a point when we analyse opponents, when I think the exact quote was, we don't analyse whether it's going to be hot or raining. We're looking at the quality of Hibs, not what the weather is. So he's kind of banking on the fact that Hibs will be able to handle it, but it's going to be tough going. We've spoken to a few locals. Obviously, people know this stadium. It's where the Macedonian national team play. Scotland will be here. I think this is where they're coming. Pretty sure this is a venue, although I could be wrong. So please don't shoot me if I've got that one wrong. But speaking to the locals, it's roasting hot by day, but it's a kind of bowl effect, and it holds the heat in. So even though it'll cool down, we were out in the city last night, maybe sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock by the time we got here, and it was still sticky, humid, hot, sweaty. So yeah, it's going to be hard going. It's going to be hard going because Shkendija have got talent, and also with the conditions that Hibs are going to have to cope with, you've got a double-edged sword there to deal with. Very, very tough game. If they get through this, will be some effort.
I get him asking you how long is a piece of string, Swanee, but do you think David Gray will stick with the team that won at Ibrox? Will they revert back? Is there any idea what we'll do?
I think it'll be a mix. Like for instance, Owen Elding was so good in the first leg. I'd be stunned if he didn't come in and start the game. But he's got options now, as I say, with Campbell and McGrath back. So I think it might be some survive and some go out. Elding would certainly be one I would expect to come back in. Like I say, he was outstanding in the first leg. So yeah, but I repeat myself. At least he's got options, which he didn't really have in the opening sort of game of the season against Motherwell and things like that. With guys being out, he's got more choices now, and it's going to be a night where you're going to need 15 or 16. You might get to the hour mark, you need to freshen it up and go again. Because even if Hibs were to get to say the hour mark, a goal in front, that could be a long last half an hour. So yeah, he's going to need as many bodies as he can.
See, well, I've got you, Swanee, actually see on Hibs. What did you make of the penalty at Ibrox? What was your thoughts on that? Did you think it was a penalty?
It's one of them where I remember I was actually at the game on Sunday. It was one of them where I said, well, it's the old phrase, and kill me for boredom here, but you're going to have to give 10 of them a game. I actually think the edict, what David Gray said to us after the game at Ibrox was, the referees have been in and spoken to managers and told them that the problem was the Rangers defender was looking directly at Jason Kerr. He wasn't looking at the ball, he was looking directly at him, and he ran straight for him and put his hands out on him. I think that was the problem. I think if they'd just been jostling, if both guys had their eyes on the ball, because we saw that throughout the rest of the game at corner kicks. But it was the fact that the defenders just stared straight into the eyes of Jason Kerr and didn't look at the ball. Well, according to David Gray, the coaches and managers have all been told by the referees at the start of the season. Anybody marks like that, it's penalty. So
I kind of think that as well. I think if you're not even making any attempt to play the ball,
yeah,
you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I think so. So, listen, it's one of the old ones. If you're a Rangers fan, you think it's never a penalty in a million years. If you're a Hibs fan, you think it's a penalty. It's the old adage. But by the rules, by what David Gray said after the game, by what they've been told, you have to be watching the flight of the ball, not staring dead in the opposite direction into the attacker. So, yeah, I think it was fair enough to be given. Yeah.
Before I let you go, Swanee, big question: are Hibs going to do it tomorrow night? Are they going to get through?
I was dreading you were going to ask me that because I really had.
I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're going to have a heroic performance and get through, but it'll have to be a heroic performance. I really think it will, because I think the Macedonians showed in the first leg they didn't really come out their shell as much as you would have expected until Hibs scored the opening goal, and then they came alive a wee bit and they got the equaliser straight away. So that shows you that they look like they might have another gear, and maybe they were a team who were also maybe an eye on the second leg, thinking we get Hibs back here, we'll deal with them back here. So fingers crossed for a heroic performance and a Hibs result. But
we say this every year, don't we? I mean, without being disrespectful, you're always like, surely we need to win these ties. I mean, it's without being disrespectful to Macedonia and stuff, but come on, we need to be getting in the group stages.
And in fairness, at this stage, exact same stage of the competition last year, Hibs did brilliant to put Partizan Belgrade out.
Aye.
So you know that's the kind of thing we're looking for again. You know, they fell just short, obviously, in the playoff round in Poland, but hopefully they can repeat the feat of 12 months ago. It'd be brilliant if they could. Like you say, we just got a team in the group stages. And qualifying into the group stages, not one of these ones where I think, as has happened in previous seasons, you lose a Europa League playoff and you just go into the Conference League groups. Actually qualify your way in. That would be love to see Hibs do that.
Aye, absolutely. Well, fingers crossed. Well, whatever happens, Swanee, I hope it's an absolute cracker for you. And safe travels up the road when the time comes.
Thank you, Daniel. All the best.
You too. Cheers, Swanee. I've got a confession to make. See, during that, there was a bee. I'm not kidding. It had a six-pack, and it was coming for me, and that's why I kept getting distracted. I was going like that. It was, but we got there in the end, I think.
Were you sweating like Swanee?
Honestly, this thing was massive. But anyway,
I mean, you kept giving us talk about a sweaty Swanee in Skopje. It's one of the great townies in right enough, isn't it?
I was going to ask, have you guys been before?
Yes. It's
one of my favourites.
I actually don't remember it all that well.
It's got 100 foot Alexander the Great on a horse in the middle of the town square.
Oh yeah.
It looks as though it's there for about 2,000 years, but apparently it's about 20 years old.
Mick, honestly, seeing you get to my age, these trips all roll into one another. But I'll be back there soon enough, so I'll get a refresher.
The best part about it was we went for dinner and I had 2 or 3 glasses of wine because it was a long day. As a starter and a big steak, and we got the bill, and it was about £8. I was like, "This will do for me. This is how am I going to get this? How am I going to get the expenses?"
In the comments before we wrap up, let me have a look. Hawkeye says Hibs are hit or miss. You wouldn't trust them to get a result. Doco says Hibs do very well against industrial teams like Rangers, not so good against technical sides. And Rebel says fancy Hibs for a draw at least. So Hibs obviously are playing Macedonia. Hearts have got that Benfica tie again, the rematch against them at Tynecastle. And obviously Motherwell are playing HJK Helsinki as well. How are they going to get on? Are we going to? Hearts have got it tough, obviously, but Hibs have to go through.
Hearts taking this one to extra time.
Hearts have got it tough. Might be the understatement of the season so far.
Just a bit, but the other two, the other two will get through.
Motherwell are looking great, aren't they? I'll be confident there. Hibs are going to have as Swanee talks about there, the conditions. It's going to be sweltering. That's going to be a hot, sticky, sweaty night. But yeah, I'm going to get on the Hibs bus here, and it's probably heart overhead stuff. But I'm backing them to get the result there and get through it. And wouldn't it be great? It would just be a really good news story, and Scottish football needs some of them right now. Co-officials take a bit of a kicking. So yeah, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for Hibs, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for Rangers and for Derek McInnes. There's a man that needs a break, and you know I think if I'm going to give an honest assessment, I don't think the Polish side were exceptional or anywhere near it. I think they're pretty ordinary. They're decent enough. They've got one or two good individuals in the side. Rangers should have enough to take care of them over 2 legs. They caused their own problems in the first leg, and Derek McInnes just needs as I said at the start, pick a team, the players that he believes he can trust in, send them out, get them. They should be motivated for it, and just get a win. However you get the win, it does not matter. The quality of football doesn't matter. The way you get your win doesn't matter. Get a win, and if you get that win, then you can use that as a platform, and Derek McInnes can try and get some momentum behind him.
I'm a bit unsure about Rangers. I don't know if they'll get through tomorrow night, Mick.
I think as I said earlier on, I think they've got enough to kind of scrape by, but it'll be a stressful night. I think Hibs should see the job off now. I think, and I take the point. It's a difficult conditions and stuff like that. But come on, we need to be beating teams for Macedonia.
Yeah.
If they don't finish the job off, it's not a step for them. And by the way, there was loads of company on it in Europe through the years. They've been on it themselves a good few times. So let's get this Macedonian side swatted aside, and then move on. Motherwell, I think, I think they can finish the job off as well, which would be a great achievement. I mean, Helsinki are no mugs.
Yeah.
I mean, Timo Pukki up front.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I know. He must be my age right now, Timo Pukki, isn't he? He must be getting on a bit now. So yeah, I think they can do it. That'd be a great result for them. And Hearts, it's a run out, isn't it? It's become a kind of glamour friendly, isn't it? Try a few things, try and get a bit of confidence, try not to get absolutely splattered across the place at home, and then get out of the way and go and concentrate on the next one. So
we're saying Rangers, Hibs and Motherwell all to go through?
Go for it.
I know.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I don't think I'll bet at the bookies right enough, but let's hope for the best.
Are we going to go in forever here tonight? It's starting to get dark outside.
Well, that's an eclipse, Jack. That's the thing.
I think that brings us to the end of the Wednesday night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Thanks for all the comments; they were brilliant. We're back late tomorrow night, Keith.
Oh yeah. Pajama party continues.
Absolutely.
I think we're safe to say we'll be on as soon as the final whistle goes at Ibrox, unless Hearts do claw it back and take it to extra time, I guess. So yeah, we'll be on at the final whistle at Ibrox, and hopefully joined by, I think, Scott McDermott. No, Andy Newport.
Andy, I think.
But yeah, we should get some live reaction from Ibrox, and big night again.
Absolutely. We'll be back around, as Keith says, after full-time tomorrow night. Hope you can join us then, Mick. It's always an absolute pleasure.
No worries, lads. Enjoy tomorrow night, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, you too. Have a good night, Keith, and thanks for watching.